What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the BlockHash podcast. Today, we have on Mitch Gildenberg here to talk about Switchboard oracles and everything that they're working on and that's coming up for them, some of their products, some of the things they do. So Mitch is going to discuss that today. Mitch, welcome onto the show, man. Hope you're doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Just got back to Miami and feeling great. Feeling great. But yeah, thanks for having me on here. It's great to be here.
Awesome, man. To kick it off, let's do a quick little introduction, get the audience familiar with you. What is your background, I guess, per se? And then how did you get into the Web3 space and find your way with Switchboard?
Yeah, no, I definitely kind of fell into it, which was I'm very thankful for. But I got a master's in computer security at University of Michigan. I taught the security course there too, actually, and I've always been kind of inclined to that path. Uh, After that, I actually went to Google for a few years, where I actually worked on the Google hardware teams focused on network security, like on the Google Wi-Fi, the Google routers. And then I was on Google Cloud, where I led a team focused on virtual private clouds. While I was in San Francisco, I had some friends who moved to San Francisco, also starting a coin fund. And when they did that, they met some people. They met actually my co-founder Chris, who ran Circle's trading desk back from like 2013 to 2016, and he was like managing billions of dollars. And he'd had many connections in the space, so knew him for a while. And then in 2020, Solana was really coming up. He said, we could build some primitives around this, and I made a demo for an Oracle, and he raised a seed round within 3 weeks. So decided to quit my job and do that full time. And since then we've been supporting a bit over $2 billion of volume now, which is really great to get to the size. And really, Switchboard is kind of different because we are actually an Oracle building platform. So people can list anything basically day one. And it's like the fastest platform to list new assets. And you can have almost less than a single slot latency on Solana, which is about 400 milliseconds to update your data. So it's really great for derivatives like borrow, lend, or perps, but it can really attest to any numerical data.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that more with Switchboard as well. What that process kind of looks like for creating Oracle on Switchboard, as a platform, but also, is that the main goal and mission, or do you guys also want to try and do some other things as well? What really separates you guys?
Yes, definitely. So the way we do it is we actually have all of our oracles verified inside of trusted enclaves, which it's a signed type of chip that you can actually verify what binary is running off chain. So we can verify the actual code running off chain to be on chain. And it's definitely focused on pricing, because that's really what people want to do on chain. DeFi is such a large mind share. Meme coins are such a large mind share that it's really what things are. But people use it for gaming and stats and the verifying things of like who won this outcome, but it really comes down basically to DeFi even in that respect. But not just pricing, we've built some things out for some customers to actually propagate OpenAI responses for, prediction markets, things like that. So it's really connecting anything really. People are, of course, very interested in AI right now, and there's probably different ways to do it, but making a basic testing layer for everything makes it really easy to help mediate that process of bringing these really complex systems on chain.
Awesome. And then can you expand on what oracles are as well a little bit? Like I know what they are, I'm familiar with them, but for the audience, sometimes these terms kind of fly over their head. So, from
Yep.
your guys' perspective, how would you, best describe oracles and then how they play into Switchboard?
No problem. So when you think about the world of blockchain, you can only have so much context about the world. You only have context for if you have a pool that you're trading on, what price the pool's at, but how do you know the price of other markets that might be on other blockchains or other sources like a Binance price? How do you get that on chain verifiably? Oracles are basically a medium to bring information from one place to another in the most secure way possible. So that's what Switchboard really focuses on. That's what we do, and that's why people trust us in the ecosystem. So if you need any information, it's basically an information gathering layer. And that's what we've really tried to do. We've tried to make it as simple as possible for people to plug in new places they want to bring information. And then whenever they want to get an update on it, we make it really fast and really easy to get an update and put it on chain and then do some other action with that. And that's why you can imagine pricing is a really big factor in this.
What chain are you guys built on? Are you built on Solana, Ethereum?
So we're very multi-chain. Our base layer, for what propagates to other chains is actually on Solana. So when people bring up a new oracle, they register it on Solana, but that gets propagated out. So we have our V2 deployment on Starknet, Sui, Aptos, and Solana, of course, and we have our new implementation. Oh, and EVM chains, and we have our new on-demand implementation, which is the extremely fast model on Solana, on EVM, and Sui next.
I want to also talk about some of the products that you guys offer through Switchboard, data feeds and randomness and secrets. Yeah, would love to go through each of those one by one, maybe starting with the data feed and, what it does in terms of bringing security, reliability, and real-time data to smart contracts. What makes them cost effective? What should we know about it?
Yeah, totally. So the data feed essentially is a bucket for oracles to put their data. So when you request some information, the oracles are the machines off chain that actually perform the work. They will put it into this data feed bucket. And from the weights of all the values in the distribution, we can propagate what is the valid result, especially from the staleness of like when the oracle responded, the range of the data. We can give you all the information of like the confidence of this data and how fresh it is, because those are the really two main things you want to know when you're actually looking at a piece of data. So that's kind of the representation of what the data feed is. It's just the structure to encapsulate all the work the oracles are doing and propagating that one number to you. In terms of randomness, there's a lot of mechanisms that people say are random. I would be very careful. Right? Good randomness is actually very, very difficult, or verifiable randomness is not an easy thing to ensure non-collusion. But we do it by actually producing randomness inside of these trusted enclaves, which uses the security of these chips that have basically embedded secrets inside the chips to propagate randomness that not even the Oracle providers could tell themselves. So that's kind of how we do randomness. And really for randomness, it comes down almost always to lotteries or gaming. And we help a lot of people with that, but it's almost exclusively around those two items right now. Like loot boxes is almost the ubiquitous thing I hear when people are trying to build this. I think you mentioned secrets too, right? I could go over that one as well. Yeah. So another thing that's really great with enclaves is that the person running the machine has no way of getting that information out. So we have a whole system of propagating secrets for people to these oracles, and the oracle operator never read them. So they can be like passwords or authentication cookies or JWTs. So if you need some information through a data feed to log into your Twitter profile, you can make a data feed around that. And then these Oracle providers can never read it. So if you want to get your follower count on chain or your Twitter posts, it's really easy to actually get that from the Twitter API and put that there. So I know there's a lot of ZK login solutions. This is kind of like a level beyond that, from going into these systems and getting information from their APIs. And that's really the medium that Switchboard usually interacts with. So it's really good just for connecting the most broad set data you can think of.
Awesome. That's kind of the next thing I wanted to jump into. What's happening in the Switchboard ecosystem? Do you have any existing use cases that you can kind of highlight as a good example?
Yeah, sure. We just announced Drift is using some of our on-demand feeds for some of the long tail assets. For I think mooting. I got to see what feeds they do, but really, what people really like to do is they want to build their own feeds for things that come up day one, because the trading volume goes so crazy in those spikes. So people want to see, oh, this just shot up this week on pump.fun. We should make some perp on top of that. And when they do that, they don't have another data feed. They can use Switchboard because it's just immediately available, and start trading and support a huge amount of volume. So I think Drift by itself is doing like 800,000 requests a week now just for reading those feeds, which is
wow,
very nice to see. Yeah, totally. I look at the volume of those markets too. But of course, if you look at some of the other things, like we have, Dumpy.fun or, some of the other markets on Solana that really, really like those long tail assets that people will really like. We're really optimized for, because we just can list it so quickly. That's what people really like.
Do you see a lot of those use cases primarily in things like DeFi and trading and stuff within the Web3 ecosystem?
Definitely. Well, we're in a Memecoin boom, so that's what everybody wants. As a new Memecoin comes up in one day, let's see what else we can do. There's nothing more valuable than making new markets rather than trying to breach a new market, breach an existing market.
What's the latest meme coin trend? I'm out of touch with it.
Oh, it's totally the AI coins. Somebody made these AI agents that automatically shill their own coins.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, and it made it like a big article that one made over like $1 million last week of just shilling their coins and being other AI agents producing meme coins. So that's the week's narrative right now is AI agents to make and shill meme coins.
Yeah, I've seen AI agents pop up quite a bit as of recently. A lot of AI integrations potentially with oracles and stuff like that starting to really crop up.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why people are definitely interested in propagating information from these LLMs on chain. I guess especially for prediction markets, but there's a lot of different ways to think about it. But the data has to be very structured for coming out of the oracle. I would say almost always I would give like a numerical value and a confidence that the AI or that the AI bot is in some type of prompt you're trying to give. But what you notice is that when you give a tool that's too freeform, people don't know what to do with it. So you really want to like limit that down into a more structured scope of saying of like almost offering examples. Because when you just say, "Hey, we have a medium for getting AI on chain," when you think about how blockchains work, it's actually a lot of gas to process information. So you have to have that like a good standard structure around what you're bringing from a model like that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of decentralized AI products or projects start to pop up. I was actually just at permissionless in Salt Lake City, and there's a lot of
Mm,
stuff on AI and blockchain, AI
yep.
agents as well. And yeah, maybe this is a little out of left field, but like, do you think that oracles might be like a really good solution for like feeding that information, especially in like a decentralized network? Trying to build an LLM, because I know that's the challenge, but I see the
Right.
benefit.
I don't see really another way that you could do it right now. Like these models take so much processing power that you need to have probably consensus over different ones working it out themselves. Because if you try to decentralize these models and all these models come into consensus together, I just imagine that would be too slow to be practical for any real use for a very long time. So I think the Oracle propagation is the only real way to get it done in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think that'd make a lot of sense. I could see that too. Have you seen any projects kind of, based around that, trying to really pull in oracles into solving this centralized
The
AI?
prediction market stuff, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's when you have a prediction market to, people want to do um, pricing for the bets using AI of like what the current sentiment is, rather than the proportion of the pools. And then there's a whole decision market trend of that's kind of really propagating right now too. So I don't know if you've ever heard of MetaDAO, but that's a whole different type of uh, market structure. Instead of these prediction markets, you have a decision market where it's uh, weighted more so on the human behavior of the votes rather than the actual external market.
I know there's a lot of oracle connections and use cases for Web3, but have you seen any for Web2, or do you think oracles could be big for helping a lot of Web2 companies potentially at some point?
I would actually think that in some world that blockchain really becomes integrated to like our normal life, there would be a change to how the HTTP protocol actually works in a sense that they can give you signatures to verify certificates yourself to prove something came from Facebook without the need of an oracle. And that would really change how you integrate these systems because then you don't need a middleman to be a signatory between the blockchain and Binance. There could be a lot of other things you do. There could be something for complex computation that's more centralized, that's way more cost effective to be the middleman. But if you had something built in to these services that propagated these signing themselves, and that was just built into the base internet protocol to interact with blockchains, I think that would make all the difference. So I think there's a future that HTTP 4 could have an option to say, give a signature back so we can verify that this data is from you ourselves.
No, that,
Yeah.
that is very interesting. I haven't actually
I
thought
mean,
about
of
it from
course,
that angle.
you can already verify that because you have the whole key exchange process. But there is better ways just to take a segment of information rather than a whole encrypted channel to just verify this came from a source. Then you have the whole ZK-TLS story that's coming up too. That's kind of doing the same thing.
What's that story?
ZK-TLS is basically the proof of the TLS protocol that can prove that something came from Binance or came from somewhere else. So that's a narrative that's also coming up. I know Andreessen Horowitz invested in a few projects in that vein. I think Opacity is one of them. But it's kind of in the same vein that I'm talking about. It just depends on the speed that this can be done.
So how do you see oracles maybe evolving alongside more complex blockchain sectors like DeFi, for example, going into the future? Obviously, oracles are really popular now, but I'm curious, like what direction maybe those take if they evolve further or if they're like an evergreen type of tech.
Yeah, well, I kind of view the world as oracles are basically this infinitely listing platform for listing new assets. So if you have these layers that are just platforms for hosting data on, you know, some ever-growing box of history, you're going to have a hard time scaling. And that's really why we went on the on-demand route, where you only need to update information when somebody requests it. Because if a market's dead, why should your Oracle network do the work to always be updating that data layer? Um, so that's really the direction I think things are going to go. It's almost that switchboard. You could think of it as an oracle, but it's almost just in a testing layer when you request some information. So it's almost like in a test that this is true on demand. So I think when you think about oracles, it's kind of becoming synonymous with the attestation framework. And you could attest to a lot of things. You could attest to AI information. You could attest to uh, uh, quantitative values. And I think really it's just attesting things are from a certain source is really what it is. It's like in a nutshell, that's the concept of it.
What has Switchboard been up to lately? Have you guys been at any conferences, events?
We're gonna have a few people go to ETH Thailand. We have just come. I've been all over recently, actually, but it's hard for me to even remember. We just went from Breakpoint Token 2049. I'm thinking about going to Dubai next week too, but it's just so much going on that it's hard to keep track anymore. But everything with Breakpoint, we've been in the Solana eco for so long that it's just almost like a cohort now, and everyone just kind of hangs out, and the war stories of everything, history of Solana. Everyone feels very a huge sense of camaraderie because of that.
Nice, man. What do you think about the Solana ecosystem today? Obviously, it's had some road bumps in the past, but it seems to be really coming into its own.
It definitely is. I think people have built these primitives around it to really get around some of the issues. But the biggest thing is you don't ever have a guarantee that your transaction is going to land, and there's not really a primitive to guarantee that yet. And that's kind of native to how Solana works. And if you think about that, if that's a big blocker, if you need something to land, no matter what, even if it's way later, should that be always a single blockchain solution? And I think there's arguments to be made that there are other blockchain solutions for guaranteed landing of transactions. But honestly, if you don't have your transaction land within 60 seconds, usually for DeFi, you probably don't want it to land anyways. So it seems like that model might be okay for a blockchain scalability issue like that. But of course, Sui is hotness right now. So there's a lot of overlap for the programming model that they took with Solana, all very Rust based, and we have, um, you know, everyone in blockchain seems to be very bullish, just the Rust type of ecos now, and I am too. I've been coding Rust many years for embedded systems before I got into blockchain, so kind of fell naturally into that.
So, what do you guys have coming up on your 2025 roadmap for Switchboard? Anything you think users, developers, anyone wanting to build an Oracle on your guys' platform should be aware of or be excited for? New products
Yes,
coming out?
we definitely. We actually have put a lot of work into our Oracle aggregator because we don't want people to have to go and think about how to make their data feeds. We want to automatically build them as they're listed on Binance, as you see a Jupiter route added for them. So it's a one click to use on any chain. And we want that to just be to show people there are thousands of oracles already available. And you just like whatever you need to list, it's already available. Beyond that, we have a few other systems for moving averages on type of this on-demand data, making sure that's all secure for users. So even if you have a very high IV for any token, you can get a safe weighted price for that and make sure that people can actually make derivatives on top of that. Beyond that, we have a lot in the works beyond just pricing. And I gave you some examples before, but there's some directions that we've been getting requested a lot that we're trying to take now. and a lot of new chain integrations and a lot more news coming. Actually, people should follow us on Twitter because some of it I think my co-founder wants to save for announcements. So I'll save those for him to give out.
Cool. And then if you're an individual out there, you want to build an Oracle on Switchboard, what should you do? Where should you start? Where's the documentation? Where would you direct them?
You go to switchboard.xyz. You can go to the builder tool. And then if you want to just start out easy, I would go to the aggregator page and you can see a list of about 2,000 data feeds you can list right away and then how to put them on different chains. And then it's a one-click deploy to like make the data feed bucket like I was talking about. And then you can start using that to update whenever you want.
Awesome. And then do you guys have socials, community, anything like that?
Oh yes, oh yes. We have a great Discord community. It's very fun. They are big artists there. I really like it. So we printed stickers for somebody that made a bunch of plushies that were really a big hit. So yeah, find us on Discord, or just Switchboard XYZ. Find us on Twitter, and my name everywhere is Dr. Blocks, so it's pretty easy to find me.
Dr. Blocks. I like it.
Yep, I know. I had to search for a while for something available on Twitter, Discord, and Telegram.
The names in this space, usernames, taglines are some of the best I've seen. Very creative
I know,
people.
totally. Yeah. I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
Dr. Blocks, Mitch, thanks so much for taking the time to come on, man. Really appreciate it. Good talk. Learned a lot about oracles. I think people will find a lot of value in what Switchboard is doing. So let's definitely do another episode here in the near future as well. And everyone will be able to find links in the description for the episode down below too. So if you want to check out the socials, documentation, go to the website, jump in the Discord, go crazy. You can find it all there. So Mitch, again, thank you so much.
Of course, Sam. Thank you.